Hey, Sparkle here with another Sparkle video. This time we're going to go through every unit in the game and talk about Sparkle for them. She is such an incredible support and has so many different playstyles, so after much testing, I've noted down parts I liked on every character, and I have asked character mains to help out in places I missed. I can't of course find everything, and maybe I missed a better playstyle, so let me know if you have a better idea on any of these synergies. So like and sub if this video helps, let me know below your favorite Sparkle pairing, and let's begin. Sorry to interrupt, but Guotin was sent here to inform you about Reverse 1999, the sponsor of today's video. If you don't know already, Reverse 1999 is a 20th century time travel strategic RPG, and that sounds wild, but that's what gives it so much potential. Version 1.4, The Prisoner in the Cave, just dropped with some amazing new upcoming content and delicious rewards, so this is a great time to get into the game. In this world, arcanists with incredible powers exist alongside regular humans, but after a catastrophic event on the last day of 1999, time started flowing backwards. So it's up to you of course to figure out the truth behind everything with mystical characters you could only dream of. You can play as historical figures, including my favorite, Pickles the dog, who yes, was a real life hero. And then you can even play as characters like this floating apple who turns into a disco ball. Not only are they interesting design wise, but in game they're just as cool. Like, who wouldn't want to play as a dog that can psychically attack enemies? The turn-based combat is easy to pick up too. You use cards to unleash spells, but it still has depth to it with how and when you combine cards, upgrading them to even stronger versions of themselves. As for version 1.4, it brings us two beautiful units, 37, a supportive carry that likes follow-up attacks, and 6, who spams the field with ally buffs and enemy debuffs. So if that sounds cool, maybe it's time to go pull them. The game is available on iOS, Google Play and PC. Click the link in the description to download the game to gain up to 80 summons and a guaranteed 6-star character in only 30 summons. Anyway, Guotin out. So let's go through these units. First, we'll tackle the destruction path. Heng Imbibitor Lunae is a great DPS that was just waiting for Sparkle to join the roster. Lunae consumes 2.33 skill points a turn, or 2 if you use Jing Yuan to give him a 2-turn rotation. I already loved running Lunae at no speed, but with Sparkle on his team, you'd definitely want to. Sparkle cannot sustain the skill points from -1 speed setup without some basics, but fast Sparkle should be a-okay with some skill point positive teammates. You'll slowly lose skill points over the duration of the fight, but the enemy should be dead by then. Also, her A4 trace that makes the crit damage last until the start of a next turn does of course not work for E2 Lunae, as E2 Lunae ends his turn and just advances him forward, starting a brand new turn. Jingliu could already use Bronya Sparkle just fine, but Bronya Sparkle will grant many more actions and thus be better for faster clearing, with Bronya Sparkle being better for a longer fight. She cannot sustain the SP infinitely, but thanks to Sparkle's technique it should be for long enough, and so the enemies again should be dead by then. Blade consumes 0.25 SP a turn and could already use Bronya at -1 speed very effectively because of this. That doesn't mean you can't just run both Sparkle and Bronya now though, creating a loop of action advance to give Blade tons of extra actions. It is hard to set up correctly though. When alone, you can run slow or fast Sparkle up to preference, and with Bronya, you just put Sparkle ahead of Bronya by a couple speed and drop Blade's speed completely. Blade doesn't need Sparkle to excel though if you do have Bronya already. Clara likes running no speed and spamming attacks with her counters. However, people have run her with Bronya in the past due to her skill multipliers being great alongside her E1's buff. This has now transitioned to a Sparkle Clara combo, meaning you now get the benefit of having a fast Clara spam her skill, and you still get great benefit for the following counter attacks. I've seen low cycle off element clears from Clara in Memory of Chaos 12 with Sparkle, for example by the big Clara theory crafter Miss Staffy, and even a 0 cycle, but that was with E2S1. I wouldn't pull Sparkle for her, but if you have both, it's something fun to try. According to Mayonnaise, a pro Misha gamer, Misha adores Sparkle as a support, and I can see why. She gives the team skill points, uses skill points every turn for her own skill, and also gives him extra actions to generate more ultimates all at once, which means his whole playstyle gets a buff. Jass's take on Misha is that he can be run in multiple dual DPS comps even better now that Sparkle is around. Xueyi as a quantum DPS will love Sparkle in the team, and her bonus actions are perfect for karma stacking, prioritizing her toughness damage over allies. The attack percent is massive for her low attack due to her break effect and thus damage percent stacking, and she can go even further into attack percent scaling with attack percent boots when you pair her with a fast Sparkle. The crit damage every turn is also massive due to her having no crit traces, but alongside Misha's new light cone, you have an insane crit ratio, tons of attack percent, break effect, and damage percent. Eon is generally her best, but with Sparkle, I think you should go Indelible Promise. Arlan is skill point neutral and can thus run Bronya and Sparkle together. You may be at 1% HP and not have any shield on you ever due to all the bonus actions, but I'm sure some min-maxers can make him kill the enemy before they hit him. With the bonus skill point Sparkle provides, perhaps you can run a skill spam Trailblazer that can soak any potential hits, and one day if we get an aura based shielder, then Arlan could truly shine. Hook and Physical MC can use Sparkle like anyone else, but I don't see any synergy or interesting things to note, unlike the rest of the destruction units. Maybe Hook's ult advance forward can synergize with slow Sparkle's rotation? Anyway, onto Nihility units, and first we'll tackle the dot units altogether. While Sparkle's advance benefits dot units with getting more detonations out in a short amount of time, her crit percent buffs are not doing anything for them unless you're a cheeky crit dot builder. The damage percent and attack percent from her talent, ult and trace do help, but they are very small in comparison to someone like Ruan. Since she can't buff them much with her skill outside of the advance, and dot units are traditionally fast enough, she could therefore opt for a basic spam playstyle instead. She will be generating plenty of skill points for 2 dot carries, and a Huohuo for example to all skill spam. However, there isn't a secondary dot unit that really needs a skill spam like Kafka does. Even Black Swan can opt for basics now and then. If a unit like that does come though, I can see Sparkle being very useful for dot. For break variants of dot units, Sparkle's advance can be useful in speeding up the breaking process, but Ruan and Pella already exist. Silverwolf synergizes greatly with Sparkle as the sole quantum buffer in the game. Silverwolf's weakness and plant is determined by the number of elements in your team that the enemy does not have, including Silverwolf's own element, quantum. So, in a 4 quantum team, you therefore have a 100% quantum implant chance, and alongside the res decrease, this allows any quantum DPS to always act as if they were fighting against quantum weak enemies. Versus quantum weak enemies, you can also enable any other elements you specifically want with the two together for an off element DPS while still allowing for a lot of damage amping. This can be used for example with Doctor Ratio. Welt is another carry that doesn't mind having a Sparkle in their team. With Ruan Welt, you can already forego a sustain, so a triple harmony team sounds great to unleash his potential, and the bonus actions help out with his pseudo sustain power. The fact that Welt's build requirements are also annoying means her permanent crit damage buff in a fast playstyle can see him opt more into crit rate while still maintaining a crazy crit ratio. Sparkle basic attacking here and there can also let a secondary DPS join him. She's very flexible in when she needs to use her skill. Pella doesn't have any noticeable synergies with Sparkle outside of her E2 being stronger with the Pella on the team. Harmony is next because why have one buffer when you can have two? Bronya was power crept for most DPS by Sparkle, but she still remains relevant in other teams or even with Sparkle, and there are always two teams in the endgame. You can run them together both on skill spam for either an SP neutral DPS like Arlan, a DPS that can run an SP neutral rotation that does most of their damage outside of the skill like Topaz, or an SP efficient DPS like Blade. You can even run the two for a couple cycles on a -1 SP per turn DPS 2 for those 0 cyclers. Even for a -1 SP per turn DPS, there is always the option of basic spam Sparkle to sustain a skill spam Bronya, which is still a strong setup considering how powerful it is pre-Sparkle on units like Jingliu and Blade. Hanya is a fantastic skill point battery, so combined with Sparkle, you'll have great SP generation for a DPS like Lunae. Hanya however boosts speed by a whole ton on her ult, so it might be more worth to run a 134 speed Sparkle, a base speed DPS, and let Hanya's ult boost the DPS ahead of Sparkle, to gain the best of both speed playstyles. Also, the DPS getting extra actions will help maxing the burden skill point generation. To keep Yukong's buffs up consistently, she needs to skill spam due to her fickle bowstrings duration, so Sparkle enabling more skill uptime is nice. Tingyun, Asta, Ruan all can be run fine with her. Sparkle can let them use a bit more skill points than usual for better ult uptime, for example enabling Tingyun to get a 3-turn ultimate without needing cogs or memories, or even letting Ruan secure a 3-turn ult with her signature. They also all provide speed benefits, for example Ruan's permanent 10% speed, allowing some crazy speed breakpoints on Sparkle for the Eagle Dancer or Deagle setup. Now it's hunt time, and this time I won't make the mistake of writing the Nihility. Hunt units often have low hit ultimate attacks, and Sparkle letting them go higher crit rate with her permanent or near permanent massive crit damage buff ensures much comfier runs. Doctor Ratio with enough debuffs would enjoy a Sparkle in the team, and her A4 trace allows Ratio's ultimate out of turn follow-ups to still receive the high skill buffs. Doctor Ratio works incredibly with units like Tingyun, Pella, Silverwolf, Topaz, Ruan already, so it's not necessary to get her for him. In dual DPS, it would also be hard to sustain 5 debuffs with Sparkle even with E1 S1 Topaz, and Ruan would provide better dual DPS buffs alongside her own debuff. With Welt though, who would love to use skill points, just enjoys Sparkle's skill point flexibility, as she doesn't necessarily need to skill every turn. Changing what move you use on the fly and allowing Welt and Ratio to skill spam means Welt might not even need Raw Mei to sustain the team. Speaking of Topaz, in a hypercarry Topaz comp, Sparkle works fantastically. No more skill point issues while still having the benefit of action advance, allowing her to generate as much energy as possible, redirect Proof of Debt at will, and attack so much more. Her acting as if she had 160 speed also means she's exactly 2 times the speed of Numbi, meaning Numbi will be somewhat in sync with her. And of course, little Numbi will have the crit damage buff thanks to her A4 trace. In Dual DPS, she doesn't need the extra skill points from a basic spam Sparkle though. Yanqing ideally wants a shield to prevent Soulsteel Sync from being lost, and extra actions hurt this. Just like with Arlan though, Fire Trailblazer can help out if you do want to run the two together, only being ineffective versus super fast enemies or fully AoE attacks. An aura-based shielder one day will help Yanqing running with advanced and speed units, or maybe you run a pseudo-sustain setup that instead focuses on stopping enemies from attacking at all, like Welt with Ruan Mei. Seele's high speed and skill spamming potential saw Bronya be effective but very annoying to use skill point wise. Yes, Seele can basic a weak enemy or basic in Resurgence, but Sparkle can let Seele unleash her full power. The mono quantum aspect as always is great too. Speed tuning wise, you'd want Sparkle -1 speed after Seele's speed buff is taken into account, which is 28.75 speed added onto her speed outside of combat. Even before Sparkle, she didn't run speed boots ideally, and you'll still want to keep her on those attack percent boots. Letting Seele focus on crit rate is especially nice for that one hit ultimate we always miss our crits on. With Sparkle S1 and Fushuan's crit rate buff, that's 22% free crit rate too. Dan Heng's talent can be easily activated as soon as the cooldown expires, which is fantastic, especially with his E2. That 40% res pen buff is no joke. Combining it with the way you can abuse the turn duration of his ult, and you should have every ult buffed with that res pen on top of some skills here and there. He also has no crit traces and a one-hit ult, again having the same benefit as Seele. Sushang's E1 refunds her skill points when attacking a weakness broken enemy, effectively making her SP neutral at that moment. She could therefore use Bronya and Sparkle in the same team, letting Bronya chill with the basic skill alternating rotation until the enemy is broken, and then going all out in skill spam. Sushang's ult also sets her AV to 0, so alongside the two she will be taking 100 turns just like Seele. Now let's quickly go over the sustain units. Bailu, Japad, Luocha, Natasha, March and Fire MC don't have anything noticeable that can synergize with Sparkle. Abundance units can use quid pro quo though when tuned correctly to help Sparkle on an S2 Bronya cone to get 2-turn ults even with skill spam, thus making her generate 1.25 skill points per turn. Xuan and Lynx have mono quantum they can excel in with Silverwolf and Sparkle. On top of that, Xuan and Sparkle provide a ton of crit value, especially with S1 Sparkle and E1 Xuan. Huohuo being able to skill more, get permanent uptime on talent, maybe even get a 3-turn ultimate, just makes her even better than usual and what she was intended to be. Her providing more DPS ults through Sparkle, who is already giving more actions and very strong buffs, makes the pseudo harmony aspect of Huohuo go even stronger. Lastly, we have Erudition. Argenti, our Knight of Beauty, can use Sparkle just like he could use Bronya, but without the high SP consumption. Argenti does work just fine though with a high speed buffer like Hanya too. Versus 1 or 2 enemies, he can even basic spam or alternate between skill and basic and use Bronya and Sparkle, and those many extra actions are worth losing 12 energy here and there. In Pure Fiction, Sparkle can generate SP for a dual DPS combo like Argenti Himeko or Argenti Herta, and since her crit damage buff lasts until the unit takes another turn, off-turn ultimates and follow-ups that they can spam in Pure Fiction will all be buffed depending on who you choose with her skill. This also goes for Himeko and Herta, whose out-of-turn talent follow-ups get the same benefit. All 3 of these units in dual DPS compositions can use Sparkle, who can flex a basic when needed. Himeko and Herta as solo hypercarries can use Sparkle as well, but they're fine without. Also, Herta's damage in Memory of Chaos is in one big burst, so she can even basic before or after her massive combo if she wants to use Sparkle and Bronya together. Jing Yuan got a large boost to his whole playstyle. Fast Sparkle lets him act at the high speed he wants without all those speed substats that ruin your damage. Before, you'd use attack percent boots and run a duo like Hanya Jing Yuan, but now you can run Sparkle Jing Yuan for even better buffs. Lightning Lord is buffed by her A4 trace, and the skill points from Sparkle can even let Jing Yuan run a 3-turn ult without cogs with skill basic skill, allowing you to run damage boosting Lycones like Planetary Rendezvous or something like Dance Dance Dance. Saval doesn't have any outstanding synergy, but of course she can run Sparkle just great. Qingque, devourer of skill points, can now devour them happily with Sparkle's ultimate. Monoquantum is there again. A thing I like more is Sparkle's crit damage, allowing Qingque to stack crit rate. She has one-hit attacks, no crit traces, and relies on one big gambling move to burst down the enemies. And of course, we have the fact that we can let Qingque run attack percent boots and bring her up to Sparkle's speed. With similar speed allies, this creates a consistent 4-tile start on every QQ turn, so she doesn't even need to spam all her skill points unless you're Mr. Pokey. So here's a quick summary on all my ratings, pause if needed, and again this is just my take and some of you may find more or less success. I hope you enjoyed this video, like and sub if you did, and comment below your favorite Sparkle team. Also go check out Reverse 1999 and the brand new 1.4 update using the link in the description. Thanks to my awesome YouTube members, thanks for watching and have a good day.